Welcome to another episode where we dive deep into the latest in recruitment strategies, AI innovations, and HR solutions. If you're looking to elevate your hiring game and stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of talent acquisition, you're in the right place. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an episode filled with insights, expert interviews, and actionable tips to transform your recruitment approach. Stay tuned for exclusive content designed to make your hiring process smarter, faster, and more effective.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Excited to be here.
This time we're going to be tackling AI and ML infrastructure.
Ooh, that's a hot topic.
Yeah, it really is. And, whether you are a company leader who's trying to build out your dream team, a recruiter trying to sort through the resumes and figure out, who's got the goods.
Right. Who's got the skills?
Exactly. Or even if you're, an aspiring engineer who is trying to break into this world, this is the episode for you.
Absolutely. AI and ML, it's not just like a buzzword anymore. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's totally changing the game across industries. But here's the thing.
Look at that.
All this amazing AI magic needs a really strong foundation to actually work.
Of course, yeah.
And that's where AML infrastructure experts come in.
The heroes behind the scenes.
I like that, the heroes behind the scenes, because they really are.
Unsung heroes for sure.
Yeah, they're the architects, the builders. They're making sure that all of this incredible technology can actually function in the real world.
Yeah, it's like you can have the most brilliant AI model in the world
Okay.
capable of, predicting the future of, let's say, sock preferences.
Sock preferences.
But if you can't get that model to talk to your online store,
Yeah.
handle 1 million customers, all buying socks at the same time,
Oh, no.
your sock empire is going to fall apart pretty quickly.
Okay, so no sock empires crumbling on our watch. We're going to break down exactly what makes a standout AML infrastructure expert.
Let's do it.
What are the must-have skills, the red flags to avoid?
Ooh, the red flag.
And how do you even know
Yeah.
if someone's truly got the goods?
Yeah, let's start with the foundation of it all, data. Think
Okay.
of it as like the raw material for your AML models.
Like ingredients for a delicious recipe?
Yes?
You can't make a 5-star cake with spoiled milk and stale flour?
Exactly. And in the AM world, that means making sure your data is clean, it's organized, it's flowing smoothly to where it needs to go.
Right, like it's all prepped.
Yes, and that's where we get into all these fun terms like ETL processes,
Okay.
which stands for extract, transform, load.
Extract, transform, load.
It's basically the process of taking data from all these different sources, cleaning it up, formatting it properly, and loading it into a system where it can be used for analysis and, model training.
So it's like taking a messy pile of ingredients, washing them, chopping them, putting them neatly into containers, ready for our master AI chef
That's a perfect analogy.
to work their magic.
I love it. And once you've got your ingredients prepped, you need somewhere to store them.
Of course.
That's where data lakes and data warehouses come in.
Okay, so a data lake is kind of like this vast reservoir of raw data, right?
Exactly.
And a data warehouse is more like a structured pantry where the data is organized,
Yeah.
ready for specific uses.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we're starting to build our AI kitchen here. We've got our ingredients prepped, our storage sorted. Now we need the tools to actually process all this data, right?
Absolutely. And that's where things like Apache Kafka come in, Spark and Airflow.
Yeah.
Each of these tools, they kind of play a specific role in this whole data pipeline.
Okay.
Apache Kafka, for example, it's like, imagine a super efficient conveyor belt,
I see. Okay.
moving data between all these different systems in real time.
Right.
Spark, it's like a high-powered blender able to process like massive amounts of data quickly, efficiently. And then Airflow.
Like a kitchen manager.
Yes, it's like the kitchen manager.
Yeah.
Orchestrating and scheduling all the different tasks in this data pipeline.
Wow, this is quite the operation. So when you're looking at a resume, you're not just looking for someone who's heard of these tools, you're looking for someone who can actually wield them like a pro, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look for specific achievements on their resume. Did they reduce data processing time by optimizing a Spark job? Did they build a reliable data pipeline using Airflow? Like, those are the signs of a true data engineering, ninja.
Okay, so we've got our data prepped.
Yes.
Our pipeline is humming along. Our AI model is trained. It's ready to go.
Perfect.
But now comes the real challenge.
What's that?
Deployment.
Deployment, yes.
How do we actually take this model from our perfectly organized AI kitchen and unleash it into the real world?
That's the question. Deployment is where the magic happens.
Yeah.
But it can also be a major bottleneck if it's not handled properly.
Right.
You need someone who understands how to package and deploy models effectively. And this is where tools like Docker and Kubernetes come into play.
Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, I'm going to need like a little bit of an ELI 5.
Explain it like I'm 5.
Yes, explain it in like I'm 5 on those terms because they sound, I don't know, a little intimidating.
It can be.
Yeah.
But think of Docker as like a shipping container for your model.
Okay.
It packages everything your model needs to run. Code, libraries, dependencies, all into this neat little self-contained unit that can be easily moved and deployed anywhere.
So it's like a portable AI pod.
Exactly, yes.
But then how do you manage and
Yeah.
orchestrate all these pods? That's where Kubernetes comes in.
You got it. Kubernetes is like the container ship, managing all those Docker containers, making sure they're running smoothly, scaling them up or down as needed, handling things like networking and storage.
So it's like this complex choreography of AI containers.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing scalability is like a huge concern here.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Can your infrastructure handle a sudden surge in traffic? What happens if your model needs to process 10 times the amount of data it was designed for?
Oh my gosh, right. These are big questions.
Yeah, a top-notch AML infrastructure expert is constantly thinking about these challenges,
So they're thinking ahead,
always thinking ahead.
designing these systems that can adapt and scale seamlessly.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about data pipelines.
Yes.
We've talked about deployment, the need for scalability.
Yes.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle we really need to address. The cloud.
The cloud.
You can't really talk about AML infrastructure without talking about the cloud these days.
Almost impossible.
Cloud platforms like AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, they've become almost indispensable, I feel like, for serious AI and ML work.
I would agree with that.
So why is that? What makes the cloud so special for AI?
Well, for one thing, the cloud offers incredible scalability. Like you can easily spin up or down resources as needed without having to invest in all this expensive hardware.
So it's like having an AI playground that expands or shrinks depending on your needs.
That is a fantastic way to put it. I love that.
Yeah.
And, beyond scalability, the cloud also offers this vast array of what we call managed services.
Okay.
And they can make your life a lot easier. Things like Amazon S3 for storage, Google BigQuery for data warehousing, AWS Lambda for serverless computing.
Hold on, serverless computing, what is that?
So serverless computing is this way of running your code without having to manage the underlying servers.
Okay.
It's like having this invisible army of servers working behind the scenes, scaling up or down automatically to handle whatever workloads you throw at it.
So you can just focus on the code and the AI and let the cloud handle all the nitty-gritty infrastructure details.
That's amazing.
It's a game changer for AML, especially for things like model training, data processing, where you need these bursts of computing power.
So let's bring it back to resumes for a second.
Okay.
Because if I'm looking for someone with cloud experience, what am I actually looking for? Just a general mention of cloud?
Yeah.
Or something more specific?
You want to see proficiency in specific cloud services. Can they navigate S3 buckets? Have they worked with cloud-based machine learning platforms? Do they understand things like serverless computing and container orchestration in the cloud? Those are the details you want to look for.
So it's not enough to just say, I've used AWS.
Right.
You want to see evidence that they've actually used it for real AI and ML projects.
Exactly, because the cloud is vast.
Oh, it's huge.
And you need someone who knows how to really wield it effectively in the context of AI and ML.
Okay, so we've covered data, we've covered deployment, we've covered the cloud.
It's a lot. But we're missing one crucial piece of the puzzle, and that is MLOps.
Yes, MLOps. The often overlooked but absolutely essential element of successful AML infrastructure.
So what is it?
MLOps stands for Machine Learning Operations, and it's all about bringing those principles of DevOps, things like automation, continuous integration, continuous delivery, to the world of machine learning.
Okay, so it's like a super efficient workflow for building, testing, and deploying AI models.
We got it. And there are a bunch of tools that play a key role in MLOps, things like GitOps, Kubeflow, and MLflow.
Let's break those down a bit. What exactly are these tools about? What do they do?
So GitOps basically uses Git, which is a version control system, to manage your infrastructure and deployments. So it allows for a more automated and transparent way to kind of control your infrastructure.
So it's like keeping track of all the changes, all the updates to your AI infrastructure, making sure everything is in sync.
Exactly.
I got it.
And then there's Kubeflow, specifically designed for machine learning workflows on Kubernetes. It provides a platform for building and deploying portable and scalable machine learning pipelines.
So Kubeflow is like the specialized tool set for our AI containership,
Yes.
helping us build and manage all those complex machine learning processes.
You got it. And then finally, MLflow, which helps to manage the machine learning lifecycle, experimentation, reproducibility, and deployment.
So MLflow is like the project manager
Yes.
for our AI models,
Sure.
keeping track of everything from initial experiments to final deployment.
You got it. These tools are all about making that process of building, testing, and deploying AI models more efficient, reliable, and scalable.
I feel like I'm sensing a theme here. Efficiency, reliability, scalability.
Yeah.
Those seem to be like the watchwords for everything we've talked about so far.
Absolutely. Those are the key pillars.
Yeah.
But there's one more element we need to talk about, and it might surprise you. Soft skills.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting.
does.
I'm all ears. What kind of soft skills are we talking about?
Well, problem solving is huge. AML infrastructure is complex. Things will go wrong. You need someone who can think critically, identify the root cause of problems, come up with solutions.
So it's not just about knowing the tools.
Yeah.
You have to be able to troubleshoot when things inevitably go haywire.
Exactly.
Okay, so problem solving is key. What else?
You need meticulous attention to detail. These systems can be incredibly intricate. A small error can have massive cascading consequences.
So you're almost like a detective, carefully examining every piece of the puzzle to make sure it all fits together perfectly.
Oh, I love that. I love that analogy.
And then finally, we can't forget about collaboration.
Oh, so important.
ML infrastructure, you're not working in a silo.
Not at all.
You're working with data scientists, ML engineers, software developers, and all these other stakeholders.
You got to be able to play nice in the sandbox.
So strong communication skills are absolutely essential. Being able to explain these complex technical concepts in a way that everyone can understand.
Crucial. That ability to bridge the gap between the technical world and, say, the business world. Super valuable.
Okay, we've talked about what to look for,
Yes.
but I know what our listeners are really waiting for. The red flags.
Ooh, yes, the juicy stuff.
The warning signs that should make you think twice.
Well, one of the biggest red flags is a lack of specific hands-on experience. Listing a bunch of tools but with no real-world examples of how they've actually used them.
So instead of just saying proficient in Kubernetes, they should be able to tell you about a specific time they use Kubernetes to deploy and manage a complex AI application.
Exactly. Show me. Don't tell me.
Show me the receipts.
Right. Another red flag. Vague project descriptions. Led a team to build a scalable infrastructure. Okay, but what did that infrastructure actually do? How did it impact the business? Give me the details.
It's all about the details.
Yes. And finally, be wary of candidates whose resumes are super focused on model development. Because remember, this role is about infrastructure, not just building the model itself.
Right. So they need to understand how it fits into the larger infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly.
So to sum it all up, a top-notch AML infrastructure engineer or architect.
That's a mouthful, I know.
It is.
It's a cool title, too.
It's a cool title, but they need to have this blend of technical mastery,
Yes.
problem-solving skills, and those all-important soft skills we talked about.
And they need to be able to articulate their achievements clearly, connecting their experience to real-world impact. Don't be afraid to dig deeper, ask questions, and really assess, the depth of their knowledge.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for part 1 of our deep dive into AM infrastructure. We covered a lot of ground, but trust me, there's so much more to explore.
Welcome back. I'm excited to continue our deep dive into the world of AML infrastructure.
Me too. Last time we really built that foundation.
We did, yeah.
We know the skills, the red flags, all those key players.
The essentials.
The technology is always changing, right?
Always.
So what's next? What are those cutting-edge trends that are going to redefine AML infrastructure?
One trend that's really gaining momentum is serverless computing.
Okay, serverless computing, I remember you mentioned it briefly before.
Yeah, we touched upon it.
But why should our listeners care about this? What makes it so special for AML?
Well, serverless computing eliminates the need to actually manage servers.
Okay, what does that mean for, someone's day-to-day work?
That means no more worrying about things like provisioning, patching, scaling. all those physical machines.
So you're taking on these tedious tasks off their plate
Exactly.
and letting them focus on those more strategic, creative aspects of their work.
Exactly, and that's just the beginning. Serverless computing also offers incredible scalability.
So no more scrambling to add servers when you have that sudden spike in traffic or like a really demanding model training job.
Exactly. Serverless takes care of all of that for you. And this dynamic scalability translates into cost savings as well. You only pay for the computing resources that you actually use.
So win-win, both efficiency and cost effectiveness. Where does serverless really shine? Are there certain AML workloads where it's like the perfect solution?
Absolutely. Serverless computing is really well suited for tasks that are event-driven or that have unpredictable workloads. So imagine you have like a AI-powered image recognition system
Okay,
that processes images uploaded by users.
right.
You might have periods of low activity followed by these sudden bursts of uploads. Serverless can handle those fluctuations seamlessly.
So it's like having an elastic AI infrastructure.
I love these analogies. You're so good at these.
Well, trying to make it make sense.
Yeah, that's great.
But it expands and contracts depending on what you need.
Exactly. And serverless is also a great fit for machine learning, model training. Training a really complex model can require a lot of computing power. Serverless platforms like AWS Lambda can provide access to high-performance GPU instances on demand.
So you spin up this powerful machine, train your model, shut it down when you're done, and you only pay for the time you actually used it.
You got it. Super efficient and cost-effective.
Okay, it sounds pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
But I know there's always trade-offs. Are there any downsides? Things to be wary of?
There are a few things to consider. Serverless functions, they typically have a limited execution time. So this might not be an issue for short-lived tasks, but for longer processes, it could be a problem.
Right, so choose the right tool for the job.
Exactly. Another thing to consider is vendor lock-in. So when you go serverless, you're typically tying yourself to a specific cloud provider's platform. This can make it tricky to switch providers down the road.
So weigh those benefits against the drawbacks. Make sure it really aligns with your overall strategy.
Absolutely.
Okay, serverless is one major trend.
It is.
What else is brewing on the horizon for AML?
Another trend is the rise of edge computing.
Edge computing. Okay, I'm going to need another explainer on that one. What is edge computing, and how does it relate to AML?
So traditionally, AML workloads, they've been processed in the cloud in these massive data centers.
Right, far away from the users.
Yeah, exactly. But with edge computing, we're starting to see a shift. The intelligence is moving closer to the edge. We're talking about devices like smartphones, IoT sensors, self-driving cars.
So instead of sending all that data to the cloud to be processed,
Yeah,
you're doing some of that processing right there on the device.
exactly. And that can have a number of advantages. For starters, it can reduce latency.
Because you're not sending data back and forth.
Right, exactly. Instead of sending data back and forth, you can process it right there on the device, enabling real-time decision-making.
I see how that would be crucial for things like self-driving cars.
Absolutely.
Where every millisecond counts.
Absolutely. Edge computing can also improve privacy and security. By processing data locally, you're reducing the amount of sensitive information that needs to be transmitted over a network.
So keeping the data closer to the source, minimizing that risk of it being intercepted or compromised.
Exactly. And in some cases, edge computing can also be more cost-effective, reducing the amount of data that needs to be sent to the cloud, lowering your bandwidth costs, your storage requirements.
So it's a win-win-win. Lower latency, better privacy, and potential cost savings.
It's pretty great.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that managing AML infrastructure at the edge across all these different devices must be pretty complex.
It's definitely a challenge. One of the biggest challenges is the sheer diversity of devices at the edge. We're talking about a wide range of hardware, operating systems, network conditions.
So you need tools and platforms that can handle that complexity, make it easier to deploy and manage AML models across all these different environments.
Exactly. And that's why we're seeing a growing interest in technologies like Kubernetes for edge orchestration.
So it's like having a universal remote control for your AI infrastructure,
Another great analogy.
no matter where it's actually running.
Exactly. We're also seeing the emergence of like specialized edge AI platforms that provide tools for deploying, managing, and monitoring those models.
Okay, so edge computing is pushing AML closer to the action.
It is.
But it also requires new tools, new approaches to handle all that complexity.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important for anyone in this field to stay on top of these trends. The field is constantly evolving, and what worked yesterday might not be the best solution tomorrow.
Right. It's all about continuous learning and adaptability.
Couldn't agree more.
It feels like you need to be constantly learning just to stay afloat in this field. What advice do you have for people, whether they're just starting out or maybe they've been in the field for a while? How do they keep up?
One of the best ways to stay current is to really engage with that AML community.
Okay, how do you do that?
Attend conferences, participate in those online forums, follow industry leaders on social media, read blogs and articles.
So immerse yourself in the world of AML
Exactly.
and be open to new ideas, new approaches.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try new tools and technologies, even if they seem daunting at first. Take online courses, attend workshops, or even, find a mentor who can guide you.
It's almost like learning a new language. The more you practice, the more fluent you become.
I love that analogy. That's perfect.
Okay, so technical skills are evolving,
Hmm.
but soft skills are still important.
They're crucial.
Problem solving, attention to detail, collaboration, those all remain essential no matter how much the technology changes.
Absolutely. And there's actually one more soft skill I think is really important. Communication.
Okay, tell me more about why communication is so important in the world of AML infrastructure.
Well, this stuff can be incredibly complex, right?
Yeah.
It's often difficult to explain to people who aren't deeply technical.
Hmm.
But being able to communicate those complexities clearly and effectively is so important, whether you're presenting to executives, collaborating with colleagues, or even just writing documentation.
So you need to be able to translate those technical details into something that everyone can understand.
Exactly. Tell a compelling story about your work. Connect those dots between the technical and the business impact.
I can imagine this is super important when you're trying to get buy-in from stakeholders who might not fully grasp the ins and outs of AML.
Or absolutely, being able to articulate the value of what you do is essential for building trust, securing resources for your projects.
So it's almost like a superpower in this field.
It is. And it's a superpower that anyone can develop.
We've talked about so much in this deep dive, from those core technical skills, those emerging trends, the questions that are keeping you up at night.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
But before we wrap things up, I have a question that's been on my mind. With all this talk about AI taking over jobs, is there a risk that AML infrastructure will become so automated it just eliminates the need for human experts?
That's a great question, and it's one I get a lot. While automation AI is playing a bigger role, I believe there will always be a need for that human expertise.
So the robots aren't taking over just yet.
Not quite. AI and automation, they're incredibly powerful tools, but they're still tools, right? They need to be designed, implemented, managed by humans. Humans who understand the nuances of the technology, the complexities of the real world.
So it's not humans versus machines, it's humans and in machines working together.
Exactly. The future of AML infrastructure is about collaboration in harnessing the power of automation while leveraging human creativity, ingenuity, and problem-solving skills.
That's a reassuring thought.
It is.
It sounds like there's a really bright future ahead for anyone who is passionate about this field and has the skills to dive in.
I completely agree. It's an exciting time to be involved in this.
It really is. All right, welcome back to the final part of our AML infrastructure deep dive.
I'm ready for the grand finale.
Me too. We've gone through the essentials. We talked about emerging trends.
Yep, all the foundations.
And now it's Q&A time. We got some seriously thought-provoking questions from our listeners.
I love this part, getting into the nitty-gritty.
It's my favorite too. So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
First question comes from a listener who's curious about the cloud versus on-premise debate. They ask, is cloud experience absolutely essential for an AML infrastructure engineer?
Ah, the age-old question.
Or is there still value in understanding those traditional on-premise setups?
It's a great question because while the cloud is huge in AML,
It really is.
it's not a universal solution, John.
Yeah,
Some organizations, they might have reasons to stick with on-premise,
right.
whether it's security concerns, regulatory compliance. Maybe they just have a lot of legacy infrastructure. They're not ready to migrate yet.
So it's not an either situation. Having a foot in both worlds can be really valuable.
Exactly. Understanding those fundamentals of networking, storage, virtualization.
Yeah,
Those are all crucial, regardless of where that infrastructure lives.
makes sense. So if you can troubleshoot an issue in a traditional data center, you're probably going to be better equipped to handle a similar issue in the cloud, even if the tools are a bit different.
Exactly. Adaptability is key. Being able to learn new technologies, apply that knowledge to new situations, that's gold.
So don't count out those candidates with the on-premise experience. Next question comes from an aspiring engineer who's a bit intimidated, I think, by all the technical skills required.
Could be a lot.
It can be. They asked, how much ML or AI knowledge do I really need to be successful in an infrastructure role? Do I need to be a data scientist?
I get this question a lot, and I always reassure people, you don't need to be a data science whiz to excel in this. You're not necessarily developing the models.
Right, that's not your main focus.
Your focus is on building those systems that support the workflows.
So you don't need to be writing complex algorithms,
No.
but you do need to understand how those algorithms impact the infrastructure.
Exactly. It's like you don't need to be a master chef to design a commercial kitchen, but you need to understand how the layout is going to affect the chefs.
I love that. Okay, moving on to a question that's very important to me, metrics.
Metrics. Gotta love them.
A listener asks, what are the key metrics to assess an AML infrastructure engineer's impact? How do you actually measure success?
So metrics are crucial,
Totally.
but we want to look beyond just like lines of code written or how many models they've deployed. It's about the impact.
Business impact.
Business impact, exactly.
So can you give us some concrete examples?
Yeah, think about the outcomes the business cares about. Did this engineer reduce that model training time?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Did they improve the uptime of a critical app?
Those are great.
Did they decrease infrastructure costs? Like, those are the wins.
It's all about aligning those technical accomplishments with the business results. I love it. Okay, one final question before we wrap up.
Okay, hit me.
This one comes from a company leader who's, I think, feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the rapid change in the AML world. They ask, how do I future-proof my team skills? What should I be investing in to stay ahead?
$1 million question. The answer isn't as easy as just picking a technology or attending a conference.
It's a mindset.
It really is. It's about fostering that continuous learning adaptability.
So create that culture where your team is encouraged to explore, experiment,
Exactly.
even if it doesn't always work out.
Failures are just learning opportunities. Encourage them to attend conferences, participate in hackathons, even just set aside time to read about new stuff.
It's about embracing that idea that learning, it's a journey, not a destination.
Well said.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to invest in formal training programs. The more you invest in your team, the better prepared they'll be.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our AM Infrastructure Deep Dive. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been fun.
We've talked about everything from those foundational skills
We did.
to those emerging trends,
Yeah.
all the questions keeping you up at night.
Absolutely.
Remember, AML infrastructure, it's more than just a bunch of technologies. It's constantly evolving. It requires expertise, strategic thinking, and that constant drive to learn.
Never stop learning.
So keep exploring, keep learning, keep pushing those boundaries. We'll be back with more deep dives into the world of tech, helping you make sense of it all. Until next time.
Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest episodes and exclusive content designed to enhance your recruitment strategies.